Hey guys, so in the last video I was working on this 7220 a little bit and had changed these hydraulic hoses. We could set it up this way right here. Someone commented that this could potentially be an issue when the front axle rocks a little bit when you go over a bump. With that elbow going upward like that, it's not too far from the frame. That's why it's kind of nice having a YouTube channel. You got a lot more eyes on your projects and can correct things before you break something. It actually was my original plan to bend it down that way. Needed to come up on this side and that way on that side, and the way we made it, it was actually the opposite, so then I had to flip this up to make it work. You can see here when both the elbows are going down on this end, one's going left, one's going right, and if you flip them end to end, it doesn't fix the problem. I had to get another hose made, so now we have an extra hose that we're not going to need. I'm going to flip this down and we'll get this set up the correct way this time. Got everything tightened down. So yeah, I think we dodged a bullet with that one. Morning guys, so I just got out to the barn, gonna start milking. Finally getting some nice cold weather this week. One thing you'll notice, the floors aren't quite as clean now. Once we get down to 20 degrees or less, the floor scrapers are done. No point in trying to fight it, you just gotta shut them down and deal with a little bit dirtier floors. This is group one, I'm gonna clean stalls, chase them over. Generally, the cows like when it's cold outside, they'd prefer that. What they don't like is having to walk on a bunch of frozen manure. That's not really nice for them. Once we get down to 15 degrees or less, then the slats stop working altogether. Manure just freezes up and then builds up on top. If this cold sticks around too long, I'm gonna have to come in here and scrape this out with a skid loader. Just yesterday, I closed up all the curtains. That top curtain there we hadn't closed yet this winter on the south side, but just try to keep as much heat in here as we can now. Keep stuff from freezing up. Just checking the water troughs as I'm going around. So these troughs, they don't have an electric heater in them or anything. These latches are all iced up, but there's just a little bleeder valve in there that's letting a little bit of water through so that the hose doesn't freeze up, because you need to keep water moving or it's gonna freeze. First side of cows, this last milker's not working quite right. I think it just froze up a little bit. It's these GEA IQ milkers. There's a little ball in there that's supposed to seal up the vacuum when the milker's not attached. There might be just a little bit of ice in there. It's keeping it from working. Usually pretty low maintenance. We like these milkers. Yeah, there's just a little bit of ice built up in here. So these milkers are designed, right now the vacuum's on going to the milker, but the claw isn't sucking at all, so it's nice. It doesn't pick up dirt as easily, and it's quieter when you're attaching milkers. And then once you hit the teat of the cow, then it'll start to suck right away. But right now it's not making any noise. In this weather, we keep the curtain on the cow side of the parlor as low as we can. That's where we're losing the heat. And then we have this big ceiling fan we run on low. It just pushes the heat down into the parlor. Works pretty well, but then once it gets too cold, we like to have a heater running. This thing burns a lot of diesel, so we try to avoid running it unless we have to. Megan actually went to get some more diesel fuel. We realized we were out of fuel. I need to go get the second group of cows now. I'm gonna start up the skid loader so it's warmed up for us to bed up. Getting the second group of cows now. So these scrapers are both parked. We got one for each side of the barn. They've been running really well for us the last 6-8 months. I've been encouraged just with how reliable they can be, but once you get down to 20 degrees, then they both crash at the same time. And this was 2 days ago now, they were both crashed, and I realized I'm not gonna fight it. We're just gonna park them. Yeah, you can see these slats are freezing up. They're just plugged up with ice, so if it don't get warm enough today, we're gonna have to scrape this out. I would not recommend those scrapers if you're in upstate New York or Wisconsin or something and your barn runs as cold as ours does. If you have a barn with the ceiling in and more controlled ventilation, you might be able to get away with it. We're just a natural ventilated barn, which means we have curtains and a open ridge, and we rely on the breeze to bring air in, or just the natural flow of heat up out of the top of the roof. So even with the curtains closed, we're still losing some air up through the top, which we want. And then there's still some openings there that are letting fresh air come in, sinking down in. It gets cold in here. The curtains cut the wind, but they don't really keep the heat in very well. They're not really supposed to do that. And this board is frozen to the floor, so I can't get this out of the way for the skid loader. We're naturally ventilated, but that doesn't mean you don't have fans circulating the air inside the barn when it's hot out. I got both sides of the barn cleaned out, and now I want to cut this bunker plastic back. We actually have 2 bunkers open right now. We still have a little bit of BMR corn silage in the center bunk, and we just opened up this to start mixing with the non-BMR silage. It should be a little less digestible, a little bit of a different type of corn silage. Still good feed. We were feeding out of the upright silo a little bit. We ran out of feed in there, so just switched over, and we're gonna mix these 2 bunkers for a couple weeks. I wouldn't do it in the middle of the summer, keeping all this feed face open at the same time, but right now with it being cold out, it's a good time to have 2 bunkers open for a little bit. I want to deface the bunk now for the feeding. So we have a new defacer we have on demo right now from Hoover Ag. So this is our old one we've had for years. They made a couple upgrades, some changes to it that they say make a difference. Wanted me to try it out. So ours has this hydraulic motor here, and there's a chain that runs up and spins the drum in the front. The new one has direct drive motors on it, so that hydraulic lines run the whole way out to the end. We got motors right on the end on each side of the drum there. From what they're telling me, it has a lot more power, also reliability. There's no grease zerks or anything on this. It's all sealed. This one here, we have to grease it, and this chain is giving us some trouble. That's the one spot that will have issues, so they've eliminated all that extra chain and bearings that you need there. So this one just has the 2 bearings that are sealed inside of the hydraulic motor. On our old one here, there's this one set of teeth on the outside. Kind of helps you cut into the face better. With the new one, they can't do that because you got the motor on the very end. But the difference, it looks like the teeth are just a little bit longer. Looks like they're a few inches longer there, so they'll dig into the face better that way. So I think even though there's not those extra teeth out on this end, it's still gonna cut in plenty to get the job done. Looks like it might be pretty much the same width to the edge of the teeth, but it just looks a little wider because the motors are on the outside edge. So Hoover Ag are the ones that build the manure injection equipment. They come and do our injecting, and they make some different equipment. They're pretty handy guys. Always pretty impressed with those guys' ability to solve problems and build quality tools to help around the farm. So we've been happy with our defacer. I definitely recommend having a defacer for a bunk. Just does a nice job cleaning up the face, just reducing that surface area that the air has access to while you're waiting until the next feeding. It's definitely nicer feeding silage when you can hook up the defacer, get what you need, and then just scoop it up with a bucket rather than having to scoop in with the bucket to break it loose. We try to pack our silage so well, and then when you want to get it out with a bucket like we used to do, it's a slower process and not as fun to do. Sometimes when the weather's bad, you'd rather not hop out and change the hoses, but I think it's worth it. There it is. Definitely a very noticeable difference with this one. I noticed right away it was running a lot slower, and I thought we were gonna have to adjust it to go faster like our other one is. I tried it, it worked perfectly fine like that. I actually kind of like it slower, it doesn't throw it back so far. Normally we have to have our skid loader door closed, or else our other one will throw silage inside of it. This Defacer has a lot more torque than our other one does. It just kept eating through it. It didn't get bogged down at all. I think I actually took a little bit too much off because it was just biting in so easily. I actually really like the end not having that extra tooth out here, because I don't have to worry about catching the plastic in the corner, and I can still get up really close to the wall, so it's still cleaned really nicely there. I'll put a link in the description to their website. That'll be it for this video. I'm gonna go ahead and get the cows fed now. Have a good one, guys. Thanks for watching.